It's mid-2022 and the durability patch has just hit live servers for League of Legends. Across the globe, players are signing in, locking in their favorite champions, and trying to win some LP. Unbeknownst to these players, the game had changed overnight. Players are met with mixed emotions when they lock in their main champions and realize something doesn't feel right. Their muscle memory falters, what would once kill now leaves an enemy with 10 HP instead.
Where is my damage? Riot! Where is it? Where is it? God damn, man. Shit is dog shit, man.
At the same time, moments that they thought they would die, they're spared another chance.
Look at the way I'm able to like play here, you know? Look at the way I'm able to play, like, is this not like insane? Like, is this not insane, guys? Do you see this? Like, this is actually how League of Legends used to be. They can't just Ooga Booga one-shot you, and then you can just outplay them. Like, look at this.
3 years ago, patch 12.10, better known as the durability patch, hit live servers. Patch 12.10 was intended to address the ever-increasing problem of damage in League of Legends. All classes of champions being able to one-shot enemies, regardless of whether it's their role to be dishing out absurd amounts of damage in small time frames, is just the tip of the iceberg for damage creep in the game. Riot's response to this problem was to, in their words, evenly increase durability overall, making fights longer, harder to kill your enemies, and to create bigger windows of opportunity for skill expression. Now, specifically what this entailed was a durability base stat package for each champion, which included every champion receiving an extra 70 base HP, 14 health growth per level, 1.2 armor growth per level, and 0.8 magic resist per level. On top of this, to retain pre-patch levels of durability that comes from outside sources, not champion stats, heals, shields, sustain, and grievous wounds, these systems were also nerfed. This resulted in a more controlled durability patch, as only champion durability stats were being buffed. With these changes in mind, it's clear that Riot wasn't happy with the direction that the game was heading. When Riot makes a change as big as this, there's many different factors that would go into consideration for making such changes. Generally, the direction that Riot wants the game to go in themselves, the direction that the players want the game to go in, the direction that's most healthy for pros, and finally the direction that's best for business. With that being said, the durability patch shook the League ecosystem. Certain players would have rejoiced at not being one-shot by supports, while others would have endured frustration from years of muscle memory combos not one-shotting at the same capacity.
To be honest, this patch is like, I'm not saying that like I'm gonna quit, but like I'm definitely having less fun on this patch than before. The vibe that I'm getting is Riot wants the direction of the game to go away from like low counterplay because the damage is too high.
3 years down the line today, we can really take a step back and look at the impacts of the durability patch. Which classes benefited the most? Which suffered? Who thrived with these changes? Who hated them? These are some of the questions we'll be dissecting today. Running completely opposite from the thesis of the durability patch is the assassin subclass. By assassins, I'll be referring to primarily the class of champions that looks to dump all their abilities at once on the squishy enemies and escape away, not hit and run champions or Leona with Ignite. Now, assassins overall as a class have been notoriously hard to balance for Riot. Not only does the main player base of assassins tend to be the loudest, screeching anime children, just kidding, playstyles of assassin champions themselves is also very volatile and at times frustrating. Assassins are made to one-shot, and whether you like it or not, or argue that this is a toxic playstyle, it doesn't really matter because it's something that exists in the game and we have to deal with it. Also, the impact that assassins can have is unconventional. Fog of War and Vision become so much more of a priority when there is an assassin on the enemy team, but if you're just against another mage, it's not really something that you have to worry about as much, and so balancing these aspects of the game can be tricky. Prior to the durability patch, because assassins were able to overkill an enemy, we saw the introduction of these champs opting into bruiser items, while still being able to one-shot their enemies, which arguably is unhealthy for the game. We saw the likes of Talon and Blue Cane building Gore Drinker, remember that item, while still being able to one-shot and get away from their enemies safely. And so with the durability patch, assassins generally saw a shift in playstyle. Assassin players now had to opt into more traditional assassin items rather than bruiser items. the durability patch actually pushed assassins into their more traditional roles, making them lean on their strengths of playing from fog and looking for kill angles on rotations. In higher elos, however, assassins have always been quite challenging to play.
Now I'm gonna say something that low elo people, they will disagree with. But assassins before this patch, okay, before 12.10, in 12.9, assassins was like the second worst role in the game. Like, you know role of champions? There's tanks, bruisers, mages, assassins, enchanters. Assassins were like the second worst. Easily. Nobody, like, who thought assassins were strong? Like, really? Really? Assassins? And then the patch comes out, and Assassin gets turbo nerfed without getting compensation for it. So anyone who picks Assassin, for example Kiana that game, is solo losing his team the game. Like, he's probably the best player on the server, but he's playing... Like, you cannot play Kiana.
And so with the durability patch, assassins struggled even more so to find those kill angles, and this carries on today. Assassins have been a class outshunned by their peers, not because of their weakness, but because of how player knowledge scales the higher elo you go.
Keep in mind, this is with first strike with 3 level up. Not electric 2, not with first strike, 3 level up, bro. Everything landed. That's literally a clean one shot like Taji before. It's not even close. It's not even close. Look. Q hits right here. R hits, Q hits, and I had to go for one more auto for the kill.
Now if we touch on the topic of assassins, and the player base of assassins being the loudest, confirmation bias runs rampant among these players. With the durability patch, it gave assassins something to blame, a scapegoat.
Kill him, chat. Do we kill him? Nah, you're wilding, Gangy. That what? Please! Q. Oh, you? Nah, that's what? 12.10 durability dick.
Well, I think assassins need a buff, but it's Riot Games, so I don't know what's gonna happen. But
many assassins are shit at the moment. Oh no! Oh, I feel so sorry for these guys. Oh no, they can't auto twice as an assassin and one-shot everybody. Ah, fuck. Oh, what's that? Kiana can't one-shot somebody at level 2. Oh no. What's that? She can't start longsword first back Dirk and one-shot the entire server. Ah, I feel bad for him, really.
Sure, their champions were doing less damage and it was harder for them to do their jobs, but at the same time everyone else felt the impact of the patch. Naturally, players that adapted their builds to normal assassin items after the patch went live actually fared alright, with assassin win rate sitting at 50% for the likes of Zed, Kiana and Talon. Now looking back at the durability patch, assassins definitely suffered from the changes, and they feel those changes to this day. Assassins in higher elo especially are a class reserved for one-tricks who know the minute details and limits of their champions to the max. For the one-tricks, the durability patch wouldn't have been the biggest change, but for the casual player it would have impacted tremendously. Couple this with confirmation bias, people who only truly enjoy assassins would continue playing the class. Assassins of a class generally don't like change, as they prefer when they're able to one-shot. And so the durability patch left a sour taste in the mouth of assassin players. Theoretically speaking, you would think tanks would benefit the most from the durability patch due to increased durability to all champions, as tanks would become tankier and harder to kill. Although this is true to a certain extent, everyone else also got tankier, and so what ended up happening was that the little damage that tanks were already doing became even smaller, making it harder for tanks to now kill their enemies. And although the tank role is not primarily a role focused on killing enemies, the durability every other class gained gave them more time to whittle down the tanks. Prior to the durability patch, tanks were not so much fulfilling their roles as pure tanks, soaking damage and locking down enemies, but rather champions that had the ability to play tank but also one-shot squishies. The durability patch addressed this issue. By giving all champions durability, damage dealt by tanks was less of a threat. It gave mages, assassins, bruisers, and ADCs more time to whittle down tanks while staying somewhat healthier and more durable. Arguably tanks, alongside assassins, suffered the most from the durability patch. Although the durability patch removed damage from tanks, the patch also arguably fulfilled tank players' fantasy more. Instead of opting into items that did damage, tank players were rewarded for building more traditional tank items, increasing their durability and haste over damage. Arguably, these stats would pool into the tank players having more survivability in teamfights, allowing them to get off more rotations of their spells and CC, lock down enemies, and allow their teammates to secure the kill. Overall, this change restored the tank player's fantasy, or what Riot thought was the tank player's fantasy, which is more CC, more spell usage, more ability to lock down enemies, and more time to soak up damage. In top lane specifically, we saw a small shift in the meta where champions who scaled directly with longer fights actually saw a rise in strength. Champions such as Darius, Fiora, Kayle, all these champions became much stronger with the new patch. Ornn actually saw a massive drop in win rate due to his enemies having higher resists, making his brittle combo do less damage in lane. Similarly, other tanks who relied on burst forms of damage would have suffered from the same fate as Ornn. Arguably, the patch turned top lane into a more bruiser dominant meta, as these champions benefited the most from longer fights. The durability patch had pretty interesting effects on pro play. Obviously, in pro play, pros will be looking for the best picks in the patch and the best tactics to win. What we see is interesting, however. On an early statistical review conducted by the folks over at itero.gg, it showed that in games across the LEC, LCK, LPL, and LCS, games were on average a few seconds shorter than pre-durability, which is interesting because post-durability you would expect teamfights to be longer and, therefore, the general game to be longer, but we see the opposite. Although games were shorter, data showed significantly that champions were harder to kill. Namely, champions dealt more damage to each other post-durability patch, and damage per kills was up significantly. This data though was in line with the expectations of the patch. Another interesting point that can't be overlooked is that post-durability patch we saw less tower plates taken compared to before the patch. Generally, if champions are more durable, they are harder to dive and therefore less free plates can be taken. Some conclusions we can form are that teams that benefited from chaotic early fights would struggle more so after the patch. The durability patch, much like in solo queue, would have incentivized more scaling and late game picks. As mentioned, ADCs thrived and so did scaling. Pros had the ability to pick more scaling and greedier picks due to the safety of a little bit more durability.
The game is much more stable. It promotes scaling in the game, which I like the most. I don't like flipping the game early, so it kind of plays to my style.
Kog'Maw, I'd say, and Twitch are probably like the most like broken AD carries in this patch right now. With like the durability patch, you can get away with picking greedier picks in the early game, in my opinion. So I'd say hyperscaling AD carries are a lot stronger as well.
Personally, I think the durability patch did pro games worse. My hot take is that pros are the best punishers, in that they know the limits of every champion and it's the highest level of gameplay. I want to see pros in a meta where one-shots and fighting are rewarded, not scaling slow games. Now I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on and bring out my conspiracy theory take for the durability patch. I believe that Riot implemented this change to increase their revenue overall. If we think about how Riot makes money, especially in the context of pro play, it's through more engagement and views. One way Riot would do this would be to make the games more interesting. By increasing the durability of all champions, it shifts the meta to a more coordinated team play meta rather than one team pub stomping and bursting everyone down. With now an increased emphasis on team fights, games are longer, as well as more teamfight dependent. ADCs are given more time to scale into late game teamfights, and games are now decided on big teamfights. If you think about iconic plays in League, you think of moments like Faker's Shockwave moment and big teamfight plays that bring in the views and engagement. Therefore, by introducing more durability, it brings in a more teamfight and scaling meta, driving more views and engagement. Now listen, this is just my crazy take though, and it's important to remember that balance goes in cycles. When tanks are strong, ADCs have more priority. When ADCs have priority, assassins and burst mages have more priority. And when assassins and burst mages have priority, tanks and bruisers become strong again, and so on and so forth. What I'm trying to say is that metas come and go, and it's not to say that one is better than the other. It's that's just how the game of League of Legends works. And that's the beauty of it. There's always a time for someone's favorite pick to shine. We should only worry when the meta becomes stale and certain picks are overemphasized for longer than they should be. But on the bright side, I think Riot actually do a great job of balancing this game. The fact that even a change as big as the durability patch only manages to shake the meta a bit is actually very impressive. Yes, it will be met with adversity at the start, but players who really love the game will continue to play regardless. regardless. There's a reason why League of Legends has been a staple game for over a decade. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you all for watching. You know, this was really my first shot at a video essay style video, and I truly did enjoy making this. If you enjoyed it, if you learned something from it, or I managed to somehow provoke some thoughts in your head, I would really love it if you guys could subscribe, like, and engage with the video so I can keep continuing to pump out some quality League of Legends content. I'm always open to ideas and criticisms, so please be transparent. Give me your thoughts in the comments. Thanks again, folks, and I'll see you next time.